Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening, wherever you are in the world. Philip Wade here from North Yorkshire in England, broadcasting from the Universal Studio, and just feeling called today to talk a bit about and offer insight on this title that's on the screen there. Beyond definition is freedom. Beyond definition is freedom. And it's really inspired by a lot of events that have been unfolding very recently, but also really over the last year and the beginning of 2021. And so much in life, people talk about things like, this is a defining moment. It could be in somebody's career, or it could be in somebody's life, and it can be relate to both individual family units, communities, nations, and so forth. And quite often it can be associated with, say, some great success that perhaps somebody has secured, or indeed where something hasn't been achieved and it's classed as some perceived failure. And the thing about these so-called defining moments is that really, when you step back and look at it, there's always some striving, suffering, and reaching involved in it. And the elation that comes with it can actually be relatively short-lived. And then the ego mind kicks back in, and there's then reaching for something else. I recall in my own life, much younger, many years ago now, when I became aware that I felt that I wanted to be a civil engineer. And from somebody from a working class background who's had no history in the family of anybody going to university, this was quite a dream, so to speak, to have. And long story short, I did get there after quite some struggles and achieved that. And it was a huge moment at that time for me. This sort of perceived great success had come. But as the years passed by and had a really good career and enjoyed that career and so forth, actually realized that there was deeper awarenesses and deeper callings in life that was beyond all this idea of, shall we say, so-called worldly success. It brought many benefits, don't get me wrong, and I don't regret any of it. But there's something that came into awareness that was much more profound and deeper and beyond all of that. And when I look back at it now, I can see all of the striving and the reaching and stretching towards that to be able to achieve that goal, and indeed many others that I set in life. But there was always suffering there, and that's true throughout anybody who's had this idea of a defining moment. Whether you've become president of a country or some personal success or whatever, there's always been some great striving, some great reaching, and some sense of needing to do more, to be more, to reach for more. And yet, in the realization of the self, that which you really are, which is beyond and before all definition, there is the greatest freedom. Because a definition, a defining moment, is actually a limiting moment. That's not to say that one necessarily doesn't feel called to do certain things, but actually it provides a limitation on the truth of who you really are, which is beyond and before all definition. And it creates a belief that that is what you are, and at the root of every belief, and a belief is something beyond your experience, there is the deepest suffering. Always there is suffering in the striving for, reaching to, and the point beyond this supposed great achievement. So I'm just going to invite you now just to do a little exercise, if you're open to that, and just to explore this idea of being defined or being open to that which is undefined or beyond definition. If you were to just close your eyes for a moment, and I'm going to do this in a few steps, just to close your eyes for a moment. And just be open from the inside to letting go of every definition, every idea, every belief you ever had about who you are. And just be with that and see what arises. Being open, so letting go of all those definitions, beliefs, labels, limitations. And see what emerges inside. If you want, you can put that in the comments, but if not, just keep going with that. And it may be that some of you now are feeling a little bit uncertain about that, or unsure, or maybe even challenged by that. At the other end of the spectrum, it's possible that some are feeling or noting a kind of sense of liberation or freedom that comes with that. whatever it is for you, whether it's at one end of the spectrum or the other, or somewhere in between, just be okay with that. Just be okay with that, but still open to the possibility of all these definitions, labels, beliefs about yourself that either you have given to yourself or other people have projected onto you, could be dissolved. And maybe just keeping your eyes closed, let's take that exercise a little bit further. Let's take that exercise a little bit further. And just now asking the question inside, who am I? Who am I? And just keeping your eyes closed and see what comes with that. Now it may be you go to mind and you start to identify with those labels, whether it be a woman, a man, maybe a parent role, or your job or whatever, or you might have a wider opening to something deeper, words like love or peace or whatever. Again, no wrong or right about this, just be with that. I've noticed that somebody's put a comment up there, and I'm going to come to that in a moment, Kofi, because it's really excellent and I want to share that with everybody. But just staying with this who am I question for a moment. Whatever emerged from that, let's take it a little bit further, keeping your eyes closed. And asking inside now, who am I without memory? Who am I without memory? And just be with that. Rest with that. And be open to seeing that that's the same exercise as I started with, about letting go of all of the definitions, beliefs, labels, ideas that either you have had or others have projected onto you. Who am I without memory? You know, you can use this exercise as a meditation anytime, any place, anywhere. And what it will do, if used regularly, is start to open you to a deeper awareness that is beyond the form, beyond the identity, beyond belief. And there's a liberation, there's an opening, a sense of freedom that comes with that, with the dropping of all these different definitions, labels, beliefs. Maybe, if if anybody wants to share more, we can do that now. But I want to come to Kofi's comment there. And Kofi's written, I feel like I am water by the way I feel. And actually that speaks to me very deeply, because consciousness is like water, is like a vast, indeed infinite ocean. Its water is free form. It flows around and through all that it touches. It has no specific shape, water. It doesn't have a defined boundary. It is actually water. You put water in any container and it's the boundaries of the container that the water touches. But the water itself is free form. So actually, water is a good metaphor for consciousness because of that free-flowing nature it has. And actually, and I don't know Kofi's direct experience, it may be there's a sense of liberation that comes with that. I'd have to check in more detail what Kofi's experience there was. But water was a great opportunity and synchronicity, because I'm going to be sharing a video shortly which includes water and why that is a very good of Moira. I'm not using any cue cards. I never use cue cards in any of these lives. It all comes in the moment. You can believe whatever you like about that, but this is just as it arises. So Kimberly is saying, incredible timing, was overwhelmed this morning, solitary and refreshed, no expectations or details, lovely. And I'm guessing TY is thank you. Delighted to hear that, Kimberly. You see, all of these beliefs, definitions, labels, they lead to suffering, and one can feel very alone in the world, indeed the universe. And that also comes from these same definitions and labels. Yet when we allow ourselves to remove those, this idea of being very alone, so to speak, moves into what we call in spiritual awareness, actually all oneness. And we see that there's a union that is beyond the form, beyond the definition, beyond the labels. It's a freedom. It's a true liberation that is beyond and before everything else, and that is actually already here now. And nobody listening to this needs to believe a single word that I'm saying about this. For this realization, this awareness is beyond and before all belief. You see, awareness is like an infinite ocean. It's before all concept, all ideas, all form, and it's eternal. And it's that that's realized as part of the self-realization, the realization that one is this. That doesn't require belief. It doesn't require you to believe anything I say or any other realized being has said about this. It will be realized eventually. It's a matter of you being open to that. And I'm really pleased, as I say, that Kofi mentioned water, because I want to share a video now, and it's called Fish Discover Water Last. And it helps you look at, in a new way, what I've been pointing at about being beyond definition is freedom. I recorded this some months ago, just off the cuff, on the spur of the moment, like I do with all the lives. Recently though, a good friend, Lee, added some underwater video footage to it, and it's taken, in time with the words, and it's taken the video to a whole new level, and I want to share that with you now. It's 5 minutes long. It's called Fish Discover Water Last, and it speaks in another way about being beyond definition, the liberation that's life itself. So please enjoy this, and I'll be back after. So today I'd like to tell you the story of the fish that realized the self. So our fish, he was part of a school, like many fish are, and he just was chatting to his friends and said, you know, I really want to go off and discover who I really am. And the fish's friends are all saying to him, well, you're a fish, you know, you're just part of this school. We swim around in the school, live our life together. No, I just have this feeling that there's more than this. I can sort of feel something inside. I can't really explain it. And his fish friends were not very keen on him going, but anyway, off he went on his adventures and had, you know, some really good times. He found some tropical waters that were lovely and warm, but he also found some very, very deep and dark waters that were very challenging. And one day he also came across a whale, and he'd been taught to be afraid of whales. But actually he overcame his fear and actually had a great time swimming the oceans with the whale. Went on his back on some great adventures, and if you'll forgive the phrase, they had a whale of a time. But eventually he got fed up of that too, and went off on his own. And then sometime later he realised he was just completely and utterly exhausted with his explorations. He didn't really feel he'd found what he was looking for. And in this completely exhausted state, he surrendered, and a great stillness came over him, and he realized that he was actually not a fish at all, but was just awareness embodied as a fish. It was so profound and so utterly life-changing for him. He felt he had to go off and tell his friends, and eventually he swam back and found the school, and the school recognised him but saw that a great change had taken place, and they said to him, you know, what has happened to you? And he said, isn't the water wonderful beyond words? Isn't it just incredible? And the fish said in return, what water? The water, the fish said. The water, it's beautiful, it's amazing, beyond words. Don't know what you mean, no idea what you mean. And therein, my friends, is the essence of the issue that people experience with self-realization. For it is the medium through which we move through. Consciousness is that which we are. And it is so blindingly obvious. We can't see it, as like that phrase in English, you can't see the wood for the trees. That which we are is already here, it's everywhere and nowhere. It is indeed unseen, and yet it sees. So the phrase saying fish discover water last is very appropriate to self-realization. For the medium is consciousness, which is self-aware energy, and that's what we are, awareness or infinite silence. So the question then remains, are we prepared to stop, to look and to listen and realize that which is here, just like the fish in our story? So, congratulations if you managed to stay with that, and you can see why I was so pleased with Kofi using the reference to water and Kimberly with her experience as well, because it is a great metaphor for the realization of consciousness, a realization of the self, the eternity of this infinity of awareness, this eternal field that was never born and never dies. And just like the ending of the short video I just shared with you there, it will appear in the human experience like the realization of the self is a choice. You see, when it's realized, it's clear that you have always been this and never not been it. Never not been it. Yet, because we experience things in linear time, we're always at choice. Do we go with the head, all the noise going on up here, or the silence of the heart? Which will you choose? Head or heart? Definition or freedom? Constraint or liberation? Labels or that which is beyond and before all labels? Beyond definition is freedom, and you are freedom itself. That's the invitation of life, to life, for life, and you are life. You see, this body that you have, it's a great gift from life to experience life, but it's like a car. A car is something that you have, but it's not that which you are. The body gives you the opportunity to express and experience life, and that is the beauty of everybody. Yet we are all this unified field of awareness or self-realized energy or infinite silence. Beyond definition is freedom. So thank you for listening. For more insights on spiritual self-realization, I've popped my page on there, Philip Wade:"Infinite Silence Self-Realization." And there's also a group that I run with a friend, Jolene, called the Endless Peace and Love Group. If anybody wants that, ask for that in the comments and we'll put the link on there. I'll probably put it on anyway. But in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with some more beautiful harp music by my friend Tara Cook. And remember, you can use that "Who Am I" exercise, and you can start it also by moving beyond all these beliefs and labels that either you have taken on board or people have projected onto you. You can do that anytime, any place, anywhere. Remember, beyond definition is freedom. So enjoy the harp. So you have both links there now, the link to my page and the Endless Peace and Love Group, where we explore both locations. We explore this journey of self-realization